Hey guys, how's it going? Dude here. I am back with another video. Today it is an unsolved mystery. It is the unsolved mystery of Dyatlov Pass. In Russia there is a mountain called Sikal, which is also known as the Mountain of Death or the Pass of Death, later to be known as Dyatlov's Pass because, well, Dyatlov led a group of 9 college student hikers to Sikal and never returned. The mystery is what happened to those 9 hikers on that mountain, and that is what we're going to delve into. The college students set off from Vizhai, which was the last inhabited village in North Russia. This was January 27th, 1959, and would be the last time any of them were seen alive. The expedition was actually supposed to go to Ortonton Mountain, which is where they would be able to then qualify for their grade 3 hiking certificate. Currently all of the hikers were on grade 2, but nonetheless these were experienced, qualified hikers. This wasn't their first rodeo. Dyatlov promised to send a telegram when the group returned on February the 12th. When the telegram didn't arrive on February 12th, there wasn't much alarm, as they thought, well, the nature of the expedition, it's quite treacherous, it could just be that they were minorly delayed. Fast forward to February 20th, 1959, however, and the families, rightly so, began to worry and panic at the fate of their children. The college of which the students were from sent out a search and rescue team to try and find them. However, they weren't found. Eventually the military were called in and they gave a wider search, and they actually stumbled across the abandoned campsite that the hikers were staying at. But it was massively off course. It was nearly at the summit of Sikal. This was literally kilometers away from their planned route. Now this is where it begins to get very odd, guys. So the abandoned campsite consisted of a tent that had collapsed in on itself, that was covered in snow. A lot of these things aren't that weird, but the tent was cut open from the inside. 9 pairs of boots were left stacked neatly inside the tent, along with a lot of clothing. 9 sets of footprints were found outside of the tent, leading down the mountain towards a forested area about a mile away. Contrary to the slashes in the tent to get out of the tent, the footprints in the snow seemed rather calm. There wasn't any hasty running, collapsing footprints or anything like that. It seemed like they were calmly walking down the mountain towards a forested area. Halfway towards the forested area, about half a mile down the mountain, the tracks seemingly disappeared, almost as if they were covered up. However, when they entered the forested area, they found the remaining bodies. The majority of the bodies were shoeless and had very limited clothes or night clothing on. The first 2 were found huddled around the remains of a fire, again barely clothed, no shoes. 3 more were found a further half a mile away in poses that imply that they turned around to try and head back to the tent. One of these bodies was that of Dyatlov, the leader of the expedition. For the remaining 4, it would take a couple of months for them to be found because they were buried deep 3 meters beneath the snow, so they had to wait for spring to melt the snow away for them to be found. And when they were found with injuries inconsistent with hypothermia. One had a cracked skull, others had cracked ribs and internal bleeding. Other strange injuries on the bodies was that 2 of them had both their eyes missing and 1 woman had her tongue entirely removed. 2 of the bodies found months later were wearing clothing that was heavily radioactive. The injuries these 4 sustained were so severe that the coroner's report stated that it would have to be that of a car crash. Fortunately, the hikers kept diaries and cameras to document what happened up to the point where seemingly hysteria set in on that fateful night on February the 1st. Until February the 1st, everything seemed to be on track. The previous day they'd caught enough food and fully prepared all their equipment for the hike ahead. The next day, however, plans would change where a big snowstorm hit, which changed the bearings of the group, leading them away from their intended destination and over to Sikal. By the time Dyatlov realised that they were off course, it was far too late, so they decided to set up camp just below the summit of Kalat. What happened past these moments remain a mystery. However, there is a wealth of conspiracy theories that try to explain the fate of those 9 hikers that night. So the question is, what scared those hikers so much to the point that they would rather cut themselves out of the safety of their tents and flee without putting on clothes or boots to go out into the wild environment, minus 40 degrees Celsius? I'm going to delve into the theories now. One of the theories is they were either attacked by local tribesmen or animals. However, the issue with this is that there was no sign of any attack or any other tracks from any other people other than the 9 hikers in the campsite area. Also, bear in mind, the injuries sustained was that of a car crash. Major impact. There's no known creature that can do something like that. However, this has spawned the theory that the Russian Yeti may have been involved. But I guess you have to ignore the whole no tracks thing in order for that to apply. The most logical theory seems to be that of an avalanche. It is theorized that the hikers heard an avalanche quickly approaching, panicked, cut the side of the tent, didn't have time to get dressed, and went out down the pass into the forested area where they thought they would be protected. There's even more bizarre theories though that center around either Russian weapon experiments, bear in mind this was during the Cold War and you've got the Soviet Union in charge, or that of extraterrestrial life forms. In 1990 the Soviet Union fell, and so therefore all their sanctions on all of the secrets and documents were lifted. All of the oppressed information was therefore allowed to be released. The police officer that led the Dyatlov investigation back in 1959, in 1990 did an interview that was quite astonishing. He said that his investigative team found no rational answer to what happened on that night to those hikers. However, he was pressured heavily to close the case by his superiors. Now declassified documents state that there were so many sightings of strange orange spheres around the Kalat summit, and also on the night, February the 1st, a neighbouring hiking team claimed that they saw orange spheres around the area in the direction in which Dyatlov's group of hikers were currently camping. The police officer in charge was strongly informed by his superiors to completely dismiss all reports of orange spheres, which now makes him believe that there was a direct link between those orange spheres and what happened to those campers on that fateful night. So it is theorized that those spheres could have obviously been alien spacecraft, and perhaps the sound or sight of those alien spacecraft caused the hikers to flee in terror away from the spheres down the mountain. Just to add to this, look at this photo. This is the last photo that the expedition team took. It's a black and white photo. It's from 1959. This is the actual photo, the last photo the group ever took. What you see there are lights. It's black and white, so you can't tell if they're orange or not. Could have just been overexposure, could have been a campfire, could have been aliens in the night sky. Others believe that the orange spheres could have been a result of Russian experimental weapons testing. This theory was proposed by Yuri Yudin, who interestingly, he was the 10th member of the expedition, but he pulled out because he had joint pains early on in the expedition, so he never made it up the mountain. He believes that due to the radioactive clothing and apparently the corpses had tanned faces, he believes that it was a radioactive explosion that scared his friends away down the mountain to eventually succumb to either hypothermia or those impact wounds. In 2008, interestingly, metal scraps were found in the Dyatlov Pass area, and 37 independent specialists concluded after studying this case heavily that the Russians were most certainly doing weapon experiments in that area during the Cold War. There were many other theories, like hikers mistaken for escaped prisoners from the Gulag prison, magic mushrooms, and even the Kármán Vortex Street infrasound, which is a sound wave caused by weather when the perfect conditions occur. This sound wave causes nausea and hysteria, causing them to panic, exit the tent, run down the hill, succumb to injuries and hypothermia. But the kicker here is, guys, we don't know. Because there's so many theories that line up with certain elements, but when you take everything into consideration, they cut the tent from the inside out. They fled calmly down the mountain, no shoes, barely any clothing. Some of them had impact wounds, that of which you would get in a car crash. Some of them had their eyes missing. One woman had her tongue missing. 2 of them had radioactive clothing on. There are so many factors in this story that don't make sense and make it so hard to line up one theory. So, unfortunately, this will remain unsolved for the foreseeable future. I cannot see how this will ever be solved. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments about this case. It is absolutely mad. You want my honest opinion? Genuinely, I'm swaying more towards the aliens. But that's just me. Okay, guys, hit that like button. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys are loving the content at the minute, and that absolutely means the world to me. If you want to become a patron, it's an amazing way to support creators. The link for that is down below. Also, grab yourself ExpressVPN, guys. If you want to grab US Netflix and watch some new stuff on your Netflix, protect your passwords, your videos, your pictures, all your online data, expressvpn.com/duty is the way to do that. You get 3 months for free, you save 49%, so go ahead and do that if you want to. But guys, please come back next time. I've got so much content coming your way. Like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Sweet one, geese.